In this video, our guest Ben explains how citizens of US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, English-speaking countries can move to Cambodia without a college degree and teach in schools. I will show you videos I took while in Cambodia as we discuss.
Yeah, I think certainly from the work side, it fits a huge market because there's no degree required here to get a work visa. Whereas every other country I know of that you might possibly want to work, you'd need to have a potentially a 4-year degree, which a lot of people don't have. And so it's a huge market. It's really untapped for people from the UK or US or Canada or so on to come and work here. So yeah, great to let a few more people know about it.
This is Dan of Vagabond Awake, and today we're lucky to have Ben on the channel. And Ben's got some things I think you're going to be interested in hearing. Welcome to the channel, Ben.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah, it's exciting to meet you. I've been a long time viewer.
So Ben, where are you? Where in the world are you from?
So I am originally from London, in the UK.
And where are you right now in the world?
So right now I am in Phnom Penh in Cambodia.
Okay, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And what made you think, hey, I'm going to leave the UK and move to Cambodia?
So I've been lucky enough with my previous work life to live in a few different countries in the world. And I think I've just caught that bug for travel and, working in various locations. It's quite exciting, I think, for most people compared to their home life. And I came across Cambodia by chance. I think it was a few years back. I spent a year working here pre-COVID. So I had a really, really great experience. I went back home during that period. And then we joined a company out here 5 months ago. So yeah, I had this kind of, I think during those few years, I just was desperate to get back into a different culture. And Cambodia fits the bill for me. So
great. That's great. Now, you look a little young for retirement age. A lot of my folks are looking to retire overseas, but how do you categorize yourself?
So I'm actually employed by a company here in Phnom Penh. So I work for a company called 𝗕vsc, and we are a training facility where we help people to become teachers in Cambodia. Because it's one of the requirements for working in Cambodia is that you have to have a certain certification. And you might have heard about it before. It's called a TEFL or a 𝗕SOL certificate. So sure. we do an in-house training academy for that certificate, and then we help our students find work in Phnom Penh. So yeah, I'm classed as an employee. So yeah, I'm almost typical kind of sort of office life that you'd expect in any Western country, but I'm doing it in Cambodia.
Okay, so the certificates you're talking about are they certify someone that they can teach English, right?
So it's English and Mandarin is a really big push. Say almost every Cambodian child in the school system very switched on to the idea of one, learning English, and by the time they finish or graduate from school, that they speak it at such a high level that they can go and work for international companies. We have an in-house course which lasts for 25 days. And at the end of it, you get a certificate and you're then able to go and work for one of those private schools as an English teacher. And the interesting thing for Cambodia is that you're not required to have a degree in order to teach here, whereas many other countries like Vietnam, where we also have 2 offices in Vietnam as part of my company, and places like Korea or Japan, and they all require a 4-year degree, whereas somebody can come here with no previous teaching experience. They can to become a teacher, and then they can start their journey into teaching at private schools here. So it's pretty exciting for a lot of people when they find out that that's actually possible. We get a variety of people here. Like on the course last month, I had someone who was 63 years old. They were actually retired and had a state pension, but they were looking to work part-time. And also, I think, working helps integrate into communities, and you meet a lot more people, and it can be quite fulfilling teaching. And then all the way down to people who have just, some people have just left school, and I've had truck drivers, I've had, people who have worked in the corporate world. It's such a mixed bag. But yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for a lot of people once they know it's available.
If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook.
So I've been to Cambodia and toured around there, spent some time, and it seems to me one of the cheaper places to live in the world. And so in addition to getting a certificate, you could probably live there for fairly cheaply. But it sounds like if you get the certificate and you have a college education, maybe you can teach in more countries. But if you don't, you can for sure teach in Cambodia. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, so you can teach here without a degree and without any previous experience, as long as you become qualified to a base level, which would be your TESOL or TEFL certificate. And that will open up a lot of doors to positions working in a private school. We do also have people who come here with a degree. We also have people that have come from a teaching background, and it's still required that they have that TEFL or TESOL certificate. But so it can fit everybody. But I think the big pull is that you don't need a degree to come and work in Cambodia.
Okay, great. So more generally, my subscribers are interested in cost of living sort of stuff. So what would a small apartment be there, a studio or a one bedroom, if you leased it for a year rather than rented like an Airbnb or something like that?
Yeah, sure. So I think once you step away from that short-term accommodation in Phnom Penh, there's really, I think financially, it's very affordable to live here. I'm fortunate that I have visited many of my students, so I've got a really wide array of different living situations and different budgets. But I'd say that looking at it from more of a Western standard, you could probably rent something starting at around $250 a month, and that would be quite a large studio. I've recently visited one of our students who's I'm thinking about his apartment, and that was, a large studio, $250 in a really nice building. It feels safe, it feels secure, it feels modern. And then working your way up, I would say for around about sort of $400 to $500 is when you start getting the more luxury aspect. So my apartment is in an area called BKK1, which is considered like the best part of the city. And that's in a high-rise building with a swimming pool on the roof, a gym, a really nice bar. It's got restaurants, very, very modern. It's got a nice balcony that overlooks the whole of the city. It feels like a very, very high standard of living. And that's $450 a month for a one bedroom. I couldn't tell you what that would cost in London, because I could never afford to live in those kind of places that would have the same quality of life that I do here. So yeah, I would say anywhere from $250 to $500 a month, you're getting a very, very high standard of living.
Okay, so that's a nice range. And so what about if we stick with, say, the one bedroom, not a real large place, but what kind of would you guess for gas, electricity, and water? What would the utilities be, would you guess?
Yeah, so I think it's always dependent on usage. So I've had some months here where I've done a lot more work at home, and then other times where I'm in the office. So I would say the least I've ever spent on my utilities is about $70 a month, and that would be for gas. Typically, if you're lucky enough to have a gas cooker, that would just be connected to a gas bottle. So I think they're about $12 a bottle, and I think it's about 6 months I get out of one bottle. So the gas is pretty reasonable. The biggest cost is electricity, and that is going to be for air conditioning. I don't know many expats who can go without air conditioning here. I think the odd one tries it with a fan, but I've tried it and I struggle. So yeah, air conditioning every single night. So yeah, I'd say from $70. And then in the months that I've worked a lot more from home, so I'm there in the daytime and the air conditioning's constantly on, The most I've ever spent is $120 in a month. And that's for quite a sizable place. You know, that's 60 square meters. So it's not large, but it's not small either. So yeah, I think that's a good estimate.
What about internet? What's the speed and price?
So typically, I would say 99% of the apartments or condos that Westerners are renting here, Wi-Fi is included within the package. So it can vary. I think that's one little bugbear is that sometimes the quality can be a little bit up and down, and it can be a little bit disruptive. But I have a very good package with my cell phone provider, so I can always tether my phone to my laptop if needed, and then I have zero issues.
What would you say groceries and restaurants per month? What is your damage on that?
So again, there's quite a sort of wide spectrum. I think for me personally, I love to dine out. I'm quite sociable. I do a lot of networking, so maybe my bill would be slightly higher than the average person's. But I do also have a wide network of students that I keep in contact with, so I can give you my version and then the average student version, or the average teacher version, let's say. So I would say on groceries, I'm spending about $150 to $200 a month. It's very cheap here to go when you're shopping from markets, which is where I would buy all my, let's say, fruit and vegetables from, rice. That it's very, very affordable here. For things like meat and fish, I tend to go to the nicer malls where they'll have the fancier like supermarkets or grocery stores. It is much more expensive in those places, but I just feel you're getting a certain level of quality that we're used to in the West. On restaurants, I'm probably spending around about $600 or $700 a month, but I would say that is because part of my job requires me to go out for dinner quite a lot. That would be way more than the average spend. I would say the average person's probably spending around about $200 a month on restaurants, because you can go out for a meal here for $1.25. Most of my average local meals are sort of $2 if I'm going out for lunch. But when you start to go to sort of nicer, French restaurants or Italian restaurants, or the prices hike up a little bit. So yeah, I think for groceries and restaurants all in, the average teacher would be spending around about $300 to $400 a month.
And how about your smartphone? What is that running?
That's actually really cheap, surprisingly. $6 a month, and that gets me 60 gig of data. It gets me unlimited calls and unlimited texts, which I very rarely ever use because most people here use WhatsApp. It's very good compared to London, which would have cost me maybe $100.
And do you get health insurance, or you just pay as you go? How do you handle that?
I do. It's quite a common brand. I think you'll see it around. Is Safety Wings. So I think it costs me $45 a month, and that seems to be pretty all inclusive. There are some other companies that you can, like there's as part of the part of our school, we do give people advice on anything like visas, insurance, and so on. And there are some local companies that you can use, but I'd already set up my deal a long time ago with Safety Wings, and I thought, why change it if it's not broken? So
what would you say? And you're not a typical one because you're spending so much in restaurants, maybe. But what would you say your all-in is per month?
For a teacher, I would say $800 to $1,200 a month. And that would be a really good quality lifestyle here.
What about lifestyle? Like, what are some of the things you do for fun, in the evenings and weekends and stuff, or holidays?
Yeah, so I think what most people are surprised about by Phnom Penh is it's a very, very vibrant city. I mean, on every single street, there are so many bars and restaurants, and I think that takes up a lot of people's life. Just when they're not working, going out for drinks with friends, going out for dinner, going out for brunch. I think we're very food and drink heavy from the West, and that's how we like to socialize and enjoy our time off from work. But other than that, I really like to get out there and explore the local culture. So most weekends I'll be jumping in a tuk-tuk, which is very reasonable. It's a really form of transport here. So I can go out to the provinces for around about $10 for it's about an hour away, and I like to go hiking and and just feel like get away from city life and relax. But in the city, there's all the typical things that you'd get in any city in the world. There's sometimes I'll go rock climbing, I'll go bowling, I like going to the gym. I started boxing here, but it's Khmer boxing, not Western style boxing, but more for fitness. I don't want anybody to punch me, so it's more just a fitness thing. So yeah, there's lots you can do. In the holidays, people love to just get out of the city. And the great thing about Cambodia and people working here is that I think currently there's 24 days per year which are public holidays. As a teacher, you get those holidays off in addition to your contracted time off. So it's like every other week there's a public holiday. So there's an opportunity. You can go from Phnom Penh, 2 hours away. There's beautiful beaches that you can go and visit. You can go north up to, I think, a very popular destination is Siem Reap, which is about 6 hours away. But yeah, there's so much more of Cambodia to explore, where you get more of a kind of local feel. So yeah, within an hour, and they're all very affordable to visit. You can get hotels very cheaply. You'll notice when you leave the city, like food, drink, everything becomes cheaper. So most people there'll be a mass exodus on those public holidays. They'll go and get some nature, go and relax at the beach, and then come back to city life ready for work.
That's great. And what about safety? How does it feel living there?
So I've personally never, ever had an issue. Like, I feel very safe here. I think it's more of a common sense factor. There are things that happen here, like pickpocketing, bag snatching. But this, to me, was a daily occurrence in London. This would be people driving up on motorbikes and taking your phone out of your hand while you're talking to a work call. I've seen it happen so much. And I think that was more prevalent in London than it is here. So people have these little things that they say to watch out for, but I've never experienced it. And I think if you're just conscious about the environment that you're in, and you just, aware, so not going into certain areas late at night or alone, or, that would be the same, I think, in any city in the world. So I feel incredibly safe here. I've never once had an issue where I thought, I was lucky, or like never been bothered. The people are very friendly. Yeah, I think it's just common sense. I think that.
That's great. That's great. And tell us have you done any dating? What's the dating like there?
Oh, this is always the big question. I think this is something I get asked day in, day out. I think that it's quite an exciting dating scene, I would say. I think certainly for guys coming from the West, it's a very different viewpoint here on dating. It can be a very traditional form of dating, or it can just be modern. It's really down to what the person wants to find. But what I would say is that you'll have many more options here, I think, when it comes to dating. It seems much easier. I think I see this week in, week out, that people arrive and they're like, kids in a candy store. I think, it just seems very easy compared to being back in Canada or the UK or the US. Most people will use dating apps here. So Tinder is the most popular dating app. So it's very easy to connect with people. And I think for a lot of people, it's a real game changer to their life. I think most people want to meet somebody, and here it's very easy to do that.
So you're working now, and as teaching teachers, I guess you would say,
Sure.
And so at your company, if someone wanted to come take the course and become a teacher, can you say what that would cost roughly to take that 30-day course?
Yeah. So it's if I just do a round figure, it's $1,600 US. And that's for the 25-day course. But it's quite, I'd say it's quite an in-depth course. There's a huge variance in this world of teaching certificates. but we really want people to leave and feel that they're a good enough standard to be a teacher. So they'll do things on our course like they do a certain number of hours for teacher practices. So they're going to various schools in Phnom Penh, and they get an opportunity to actually practice teaching before they get out there into the real world. They get to observe real life teachers. And we feel these kind of elements are really important to, to become, or it's starting your journey as a teacher, let's say.
Do you place the students after the course, assuming they qualify and everything?
Yeah, so I personally look after the recruitment side. So I think that's a big advantage for people that come and train with us, because I think the hard thing is actually going out there and finding a job on your own, because it's not like that, it's not the same as back home where, you will get some adverts online or Facebook and so on, but the common way people are told to find a job here, especially in teaching, is to print out your CV and go door to door to schools. And that for me would be draining. You could spend weeks doing that. You wouldn't know which are the good schools, which are not, what's the actual money I'm supposed to be earning, what kind of contract should I be trying to get, all the nitty gritty details. So we look after that for our students, and we just, we've got a bank of contacts and partners that we work with. So we help them get their first job. And then I even get students who come back to me, maybe after a year, they're thinking about changing positions, and I'll still help them. So yeah, that tends to be the biggest one. That's the stress reliever of letting us do the hard work for them. That's
great. And so just so people know, what's the name of your school again? I'll put a link below, but just one more time.
Sure, it's 𝗂VSE. And we have an office in Phnom Penh, and we also have we have two offices in Vietnam, in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. I absolutely love it here. I think when everyone, I think it's always an up and down journey living in another country. I think there's aspects where you'll just miss home, but I would say 90% of the time I absolutely love it. And 10% of the time, you just want to be like, back at home and friends and family and so on. But when I think about those days of being back in London, I think, wow, I'm so lucky to be here. So I feel it's a real privilege. And I couldn't be happier.
Well, Ben, thanks so much for coming on the channel and sharing what you know about Cambodia and about this opportunity if people want to become a teacher, whatever their age is, it sounds like. And so sure. I'll put a link below for people so you can go over and check out Ben's school. And I'm sure there'll be contact information for him there too. So Ben, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great to meet you.
Hey, if you liked our video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would help our business. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Click the link in the notes below this video to get a copy of this content. Plus, grab a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 13 Years. While you're there, check out our catalog of retired cheap reports all over the world and our hobby income course that we just released. Thanks so much.